and I'll show you why I like to use the RPR. Now the cloud CMA is my preferred, but when I want to do a really quick market analysis, I like to use the RPR. Right. Jeremy, you set a goal last week of hitting 50 contacts. How many did you end up getting?
And I did get 52.
52. Good for you. And how many you want to set for a goal for this next week?
Let's stick it. Let's stick around 50. 50 seems to be a good number.
Okay. And how many appointments did you get?
I actually have several appointments for the next couple of days, and I did do 5 appointments.
Okay, good. Good for you. And how many? What's your goal for this next week then?
Let's go again with let's go with 10 because I've got, like I said, I've got several of them now coming out here.
Okay. And you set a goal of taking 2 listings. How many listings?
No listings. I was able to narrow some people down. I had some listings that were not for sale by owners, but it looked like abandoned properties.
Sure.
And that involved calling all over Idaho for a while, trying to get the owner, and finally found out that the owner is not interested in selling. He's going to try to fix it up himself. So anyway.
Okay. What'd you like to set a goal for next week?
Let's say 1 listing taken.
Okay.
And let's do, and this, I'm actually putting out 1 contract right now. I have 2 out for signatures right now.
Oh, good.
So
good for you.
they're not done, but I have 2 out for signatures. And let's put the contracts at 5.
What do you want to set goal for next week?
5.
1?
5.
5?
Yeah.
Oh, on fire. Okay. No closings yet, right?
Not yet. First closing on the 19th of this next this month.
You were at group coaching last week.
I was. And I plan on being next week too. And I started Ignite too, by the way.
Oh, good. Good. Did we have a business meeting? Yeah, we had a business meeting last week.
Man,
Were you there?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember seeing you there.
I try to make all the business meetings.
I don't know why it was that. It's just.
And we haven't been keeping track of the trainings, the other ones. I don't know why. But I didn't go anyway last week, though.
Okay. Righty. That's good. Daryl. You set a goal of, I don't know why it says 814. That's wrong. You set a goal of 10 contacts. How many contacts did you get?
For contacts, are we just, is that just like if I hand someone my card or tell them I'm in real estate?
People that you add to your database.
Oh. And that, would that be in the agent.com or the MLS?
That would be in your mykw.kw.com in your KW command where we it's our customer resource management software.
Okay. I think I put 2 in.
Okay. What do you want to set for a goal for this next week? 10 again?
10, yes.
Okay, that's good. Did you get any appointments this last week?
No.
Okay.
Would appointment be going to a house?
Appointment is an appointment that we meet with somebody to talk about real estate.
Does over the phone count?
Yeah, it could, particularly in this COVID.
Okay, I got one then.
Okay, good for you. Yeah, some of my meetings are that I meet with clients are by Zoom. Did you take any listings?
No.
Okay. Any listings coming up this next week?
Nope.
How many goals? How many appointments would you like to try and set for this next week? How many people do you like to have a real estate conversation with? Be able to talk to them about real
Okay,
estate.
three.
Okay. No contracts written, right?
Right.
All right. Would you like to set a goal for next week for writing a contract? You have anybody? Do you have anybody that you are talking to right now that may decide to buy or sell a home?
Yeah. One.
Okay, good. That's the potential there, right?
Yep.
We don't have any closings yet, so that's okay. You were here last week, weren't you?
No.
You weren't? Okay.
Nope.
Thought you were. Oops. Why does that 0 move when I move my cursor? That's just crazy. Okay. All right. Okay. So now, if you're on your laptop, you can go ahead and go here with me, but go to narrpr.com, and you'll see the website. Now, if you haven't signed in before, you might have to create a login, and it'll ask for your National Association Realtors number, because it's a membership. It's a value that you get with belonging to the National Association Realtors. Okay.
Okay.
This is why. So Cloud CMA is the one that Jeremy said he uses, and that's the one I prefer to use when I'm digging, when I really need to do a finer market analysis. But if you've got just a generic run-of-the-mill home in a neighborhood, there, you got 1,000 like them or 100 like them. This is a great tool to use to be able to do one really, really quickly. The downside of it is that you can't do the fine tuning adjustments that you might want to be able to do when you're dealing with a house that maybe has some unique features. So if it's a house that is not your average house in a neighborhood, this is not a good resource, because it doesn't allow you to do a lot of the adjustments. But if you're talking about just differences in condition or whatever, this is a great tool to use, and use it quite a bit. Because I would say probably 80% of the houses I sell, there's plenty of comparables out there, and they're not unique or unusual. When I've had those homes, and I've gone to Cloud CMA, and also there's also the Paragon one as well, right? So let me start with this: is what is a comparative market analysis? What do you think that means? When we give a home seller, let's say you're a FSBO person, it was a great opportunity to put together a comparative market analysis and deliver it to them, along with some tips of how to market and sell their property, stage their property, and things like that. What is a comparative market analysis?
To me, a comparative market analysis is basically checking to see the value, the true or closest to the true value for the property you're looking at, compared to what's been sold recently in the area, that indicates that actually is a baseline, I guess you'd say, for a property with those statistics. Unless you're looking, I mean, the more detailed you get, the better you get as a comparison. But
Sure.
just almost like saying, what are things going for right now in this area? Kind of the closer in you get and the more identical to the property, the better your price range is going to be.
Okay, good. I like that. What about you, Daryl? What do you think when you hear that an agent offering a comparative market analysis? I mean, this is sometimes some advertising you'll see agents, advertise free market analysis, free CMA. That's the other term that's used, CMA, and then public's going, what's a CMA? So that's insider languages for realtors, but your average person out in the marketplace doesn't know what that means. So comparative market analysis. What do you think, Derek?
I think it's probably a house that has the same number of rooms, same number of bathrooms, square footage is close to the same, maybe the same builder, or just a similar house.
Okay, good. Yeah, so that's right. So what we're doing, and Jeremy, you were right too. So what we're doing is we're trying to find, and typically when we're dealing with market analysis, we're dealing with sold properties, not active listings, because a lot of times, a lot of those prices will be wishful thinking prices, right? Particularly in this market. Not pending sales, because we don't know, in pending sales, we don't know what the final sales price was. So we always use sold prices. And when we're doing a market analysis, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to future guess what an appraiser is going to come up with. We want to, as close as possible, use the same comparable properties as an appraiser would use. Okay, so an appraiser is going to stick as close possible to that particular neighborhood and to the similar style. And like you said, Daryl, number of bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, attached garage, all those things, size of the lot. In new construction, it could be builders, not always, but sometimes. Particularly if there's a development where there's a huge divergence of builders. Most developments now, these builders go in, they have already agreed how they're going to build their prices and what price range they're going to all stick the homes at.
This that we're looking at right now is the Cloud CMA?
What's that?
This page you're on right now?
This is any CMA. This is working with any CMA, whether you're using the Cloud CMA, Paragon, or the RPR, the Realtors Property Sources.
I mean, this screen that we're on, is this the Cloud CMA?
No, this is the RPR. The screen that I'm with you. Yeah, this is the RPR one.
Okay.
I'm using this one today because, like I said, it's a great tool to use. It's really easy. I encourage you to practice. So what I encourage you to do is, for sale by owner, be a great one. Use friends' homes and run a market analysis on them, and then offer to sit down with them and show it to them and go over it with them.
And to be honest, this is exactly what I do with the for sale by owners. As soon as I see the house, I'll take a picture of it. Instead of calling right then, I'll go back into a CMA first to see what it's like, see what the current market is and everything before I even call them. And then when I call them, I ask about the pricing on the house too.
Right.
And I kind of, in a way, like what Ron was talking about, the expectation. I've seen some people, especially in the West Pasco area, that put up a house because they were going off of basically their idea of a CMA for the last year. And in the last 3 months, that was like 20,000 low.
Yeah.
So those kind of people, I mean, you can easily let them know, if I could get you more money for the house net, working with me as a listing agent, would you be in agreement to doing that? And then you can show them what your numbers are and stuff like that when you do the buyer presentation. But the CMAs are ridiculously valuable.
Yes, they are. So that brings up another question that I don't think enough realtors do. And that we often think of doing a comparative market analysis for sellers to list their home. Could there be a value in providing one for a buyer in a home they're interested in? And why would that be, Jeremy?
Well, especially if you have a competitive market, if you're looking at what's going on, I started looking for my buyers. I would do a CMA, but I would include also pending under contracts,
Right.
because I want to know what the tendency is doing to find out what we need to do for an offer and what it looks like the appraisals are going to come back at. If you've got in the same area a similar house selling for 20,000 above,
Right.
and they're all pending under contract, sooner or later those are all going to come back appraising and bumping all the other appraisals up higher.
Yep.
And so that would give you an indication as to if you've got a buyer with a cap at 275 and everything's listed at 255 selling 20,000 over, you can let the buyer know we're going to be going in on an offer at a higher point than you might think. I mean, they say it for 255 and say, oh yeah, let's do it. I can do that. I got 20 grand left. But if everything's selling out before then, you can let them have an expectation of some type of realism. If you're going to offer after offer and they're just thinking, well, this guy's just not representing me or something's wrong because I can't get the house, and you can't give them an explanation as to what's happening in the market, it could create a lack of enthusiasm for their purchase, and they can even just say, it's just not meant to be or something.
Yeah.
One scenario anyway.
And yeah, you're right. And that's a great scenario. There's a number of reasons why. It could be that you've got a reluctant buyer and they just think that homes are overpriced. Using a comparable market analysis, you can prove to your buyer, hey, listen, you are not paying more than what the market's showing. This home is worth that. It could be the other way. It could be that you do the market analysis and the seller's trying to sell it for 20,000 more than what the market is saying it's really worth.
There's another tool though that I think is kind of cool because you can use it for all kinds of stuff. It's information, and then you use the information the best way you can.
Right.
So if you have a price point that the average price point at that area is around that area, and you have a house that's a little bit higher than that price point, but
Right.
prices are kind of going up anyway, but average days on market is at 150 and it just came on the market, that's a lot stronger point to go in than if you have a house that average days on the market is 5 in that area.
Sure.
Because you don't have that leverage. I mean, they're probably going to get a bunch of offers right away. If you're in the other area, you might be one of the only offers for a while, so you can come in and be more maybe competitive, whereas the other ones you have to come in more aggressively.
Right. Yeah. So, as I was saying, a lot of times when we think of the market analysis, we think of it on the seller side, listing a home, but it can also be highly valuable when you're working with buyers. The other thing, like Jeremy mentioned too, is it really gives you an in-depth knowledge of what's going on in the market. So you can speak intelligently and be confident. And so it's just really important that you know your numbers for your buyers as well. And that you know, particularly if they're shopping in a particular neighborhood or in a particular part of a city. Okay.
About how many houses do you pick?
I want at least 5 or 6 homes.
Okay.
Do a good market analysis. I don't want to usually use too many. More than 12. That's, you don't usually need more than that. So 5 to 12, 6 to 12 homes is really good. Now, having said that, there will be times if it's a really unique property, you're going to be hard pressed. But here's the other thing about the market analysis you need to understand from the appraiser's side. And again, remember, we're trying to second guess what properties an appraiser will come up with, right? And an appraiser will, from the subject property, the home that we're doing the market analysis for, they call that the subject property, he or she will look for comparable properties in that immediate development or neighborhood. If they can't find enough, they will go out in distance. So if they can't find anything in that neighborhood, they might go a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles out, and they'll draw a circle and just keep going out. Now, the other thing you need to understand is there are sometimes natural barriers that they won't cross. A big one, for instance, in Pasco is that freeway. what's on the west side or the north side of the freeway is not considered by appraisers to be the same as what's on the south side of the freeway and vice versa. So that's kind of a natural barrier. It's the same way in Richland. Homes that are on the east side of George Washington Way on the riverside, completely different than homes that are on the west side of George Washington Way away from the river. It can make a dramatic difference in the value of the home. And appraisers, they just know these natural boundaries, and they will not go past those. So when I say they will go outward in distance, there is some exceptions to that rule. Here's the other thing. If they go out and they still can't find enough properties to find comparables, they will go back in time.
Okay.
Right? So right now, when we do a market analysis, we don't want to go any farther than 6 months. Right? So the past 6 months, we're going to pull up the sold properties in that neighborhood. If we need to, we might go back a year. It'll be really rare to have to go back farther than that. But an appraiser will go back farther in time in order to find enough comparable properties to justify the subject property. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There was something interesting.
Distance first, we go back in time second.
There was something interesting, Ron, that happened. It was kind of the similar situation, but it was kind of backwards. The house that the last buyers that just went under contract that I had, the seller's agent, when they contacted the appraiser to do the appraisal, they gave them in an email a CMA with all the pending under contracts that were similar to the one that was also in the offer. Now, I don't know if that's a good deal or a bad deal, but to me, it kind of made sense in a way as to help the appraiser not just to look at what's been sold and finished and closed, but also all the price hikes that went up within the last 2 months on properties that are going towards closing and not closed yet. But I don't know if that works or not.
No, well, so they will pull in pendings, but that's going to show market activity. It doesn't show value.
Right.
So one of the things they use to adjust price is market activity. And so there's I don't have time to get to it today, but in Paragon, in the reports that we have for properties, there's the 1044 MC. I think it's 1044, 1009 MC. Market conditions. It's in the reports that are on the left-hand side. If you click on reports, and you got the spreadsheets, and you got the agent handout, and you got the details, there's a market condition report. Every appraiser has to have that included in their report, and they're going to include pendings and actives and close because that's going to give them market condition. They're going to use that to adjust the property up or down. But when it comes to the actual value of the property, they're going to depend upon the sold property, just like we would, right?
Cool.
Okay, let me show you this really quick, and I encourage you to play around in it. I encourage you to run some market analysis, Darryl, particularly if you haven't done one. Like I said, use your friend's house, your parents' house, your grandparents' house, coworker's house. Ask them what their address is, put their address in, and then do a market analysis on their property. And I would encourage you to, offer to share it with them. They might not be interested in seeing it, but if they are, that's kind of cool. And then you can sit down with them and go through it. And as you go through it, you will learn the different parts of the market analysis that are really important and how to talk through those things and showing either people who are selling or people who are buying what they're seeing when they're looking at these reports. All right. So up on the screen, you'll notice I've got an address here. Now that's my home in Benton City. So I'm using my home as a as a subject property, and just as an example here, okay? You'll notice underneath that it has what's called an RVM, all right? And all of these buttons, the real cool thing about this is all those buttons, if you put your mouse over them, they'll pull up a little explainer. So the realtor's valuation model estimates in addition to or instead of the automated valuation model. But the realtor's valuation model figures in the MLS listing, sales and off market. So it really, the RVM is much more accurate than the AVM. The automated valuation model is what Zillow uses, and it's why Zillow is so frequently wrong. Right? Using national statistics and Washington state statistics versus the realtor's valuation model pulls directly from our local MLS, right? So there's a bunch of cool. Can you see my screen okay, you guys?
Yeah. I'm zooming on the iPhone 6, so it's a little small screen, but I can see.
Okay, good. So you'll see the property description down here: 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, single family residence, 2,051 square feet, estimated value per square foot. You'll see the owner's names there. You'll see on the other side over here the range for the realtor's valuation model, 307,000 to 353, averaged out at 330. It's gone up by $2,100, and the last sold price was $225. That's what we bought it for in 2014, October 2000. So 6 years ago, we bought it for $225, and it's $105,000 more. We probably could sell it for $330 today, really easily. But we had 2 homes across the street that sold for $325. Okay. There's some other information down. It's kind of funny. When you look at the picture of the lot, it doesn't show a house, but there is a house there, believe it or not. Some of the you'll find that in some of the newer developments, the maps will be off or it doesn't show what's really there. That's the case here because it's a newer development. So it's got all kinds of property facts and identification down here. If there's something that needs to change, you can change it in the property facts. And that's particularly true with older homes. Like a lot of the older homes in Richland or a lot of the older homes in Kennewick, they've been added onto, or they've had a bathroom added in the basement, or they've had ingress, egress windows put in that now allows for those bedrooms in the basement to be counted. The interesting thing is this pulls from the county website, and a lot of the data that comes into the county website isn't always accurate. So you just need to be aware of that. So if you go to the county assessor's website and then you come in here, sometimes you'll find the numbers aren't the same. Okay. And sometimes you find that even when you pull a title report from a company and you ask them to give you a title report on a piece of property, and you'll find that sometimes the information doesn't coincide, right? So there's a number of graphs that are available in here. Median estimated value, you can see how it's risen up. And this is just in the 99320 area. So all that page has all kinds of information in here. So the tabs you want to pay attention to are across the top here, right? You have the history of the house, which we saw below, right? There's several charts. Again, that was stuff that was below and this just adds more charts. There's the refined value. Now this is where you would make adjustments for improvements in the house. So your subject property, let's say they added space or they added a garage. This is where you would show those improvements in here. And when you apply the changes, it will automatically adjust the price for you. So that's really nice, kind of a cool thing about that. And then you've got home improvements here too. So if, let's say they improve the kitchen and the date it's completed and the total cost, and you can add the home improvements, right? Or maybe there are needed improvements. Maybe it needs a new roof. Maybe the kitchen needs to be updated. Maybe it needs new flooring. You can put that in here too. It'll adjust the price. And then instead of using numbers, it uses these sliders. Refine the value based on the market conditions. So the local market conditions, is it average? Is it a hot market? Is it a slow market? The exterior of the home, is it better than the average homes in the neighborhood? Is it less than average of the homes in the neighborhood? Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The home interior. Now, hopefully you've been able to take a look at the home, but maybe the home hasn't been kept up well. So maybe you would rate it a little lower. Maybe it's been completely redone and it's much nicer than the other homes in the neighborhood. You might rate it a little higher. The view, does it have any kind of a view? And then privacy. Is the property private? And typically for that, I make adjustments if it's like on a really super busy street, right? So that's where you're going to refine the value of your subject property. And then you're going to come over to the next tab, and this is where you're going to pull up your market comps, right? And so it's going to take you step by step right through this. You're going to confirm the home facts, right? And you've already gone through that, so you're just basically double checking to make sure that it's got the right square footage and all of that. And you're going to confirm that all those facts are correct. And then you're going to go find some comps. Once that's confirmed, then it's going to take you to the next step. And like I said, it just takes you right down from one to the next. And this is where I'm going to look for comps, right? So over here on the left, it has single family residence, right? You got active for sale, pending. I'm not going to, I'm going to include active for sale. Let's say I'm working with a buyer that's looking for homes. Pending and sold, and I'll show you here in just a little bit, land. But you'll notice all the types of homes over here. You got condos and townhomes, mobile and manufactured homes, multifamily or multiplex, lot and land, farm and ranch, co-ops. That's kind of a different one. We don't have very many of those in the Tri-Cities. And then it's going to pull up things compared to that. Timeline here, I'm looking within the last 6 months. Do you see that? And if you click on the down arrow here, you can go 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, and that's as far back as this will allow you to go, right? And then property details, I want to stick pretty close to the property details that I've got. And what I found here is the more detailed I get, the less comparables I'm going to get. So I don't want to be too detailed. I want to kind of be in the same general vicinity of my subject property, but if I get too detailed, I'm not going to end up with any subject properties whatsoever, or comparable properties to compare with the subject property. Then you're going to hit search, and this is where it's going to pull you a list of properties. See that?
Yep.
And then you're going to go through this list and you're going to decide what properties you want to include in here, right? And typically what I'm looking at is I'm looking at square footage, beds and baths, and year built, right? So if I include this one, it's a smaller house, one less bedroom, and an older house, I'm going to have to make adjustments for that. And whenever it gives it a star here, that means that this home was used for the realtor's valuation model. A lot of times that's a good one to use. I don't always use it, but a lot of times it is a good one to use. Here's a one that's almost the same square footage, same bedroom, same bath. It's a newer home. So compared to the subject property, I'm going to have to devalue this one. All right. This is a 1953. Now notice it's starred, but I don't like to include homes that are too far away in date and time. I really want to stay closer in date and time as much as possible. And so this 1953, 1955, I might come back to that if I can't find any other properties, all right? Notice that this says recently sold, sold, recently sold. So these are all sold properties, right? Yeah, see, so that, it doesn't, we don't have very many properties in here. There's not very many properties in that city.
Do you usually print this up and share it with the client?
I either print it and share it with them or I email it to them and then go over it with them. So here's a 2015, 1526, 3-bedroom, 2. So that's a good one. Add that to the comps. So I might have to go back and reconsider adding these older homes, right? One of the things you'll notice here, it gives you a price per square foot. And when you talk to appraisers, they don't use price per square foot. Price per square foot is the result of the work that they do. They don't start with that. It's just what the number is that comes out.
Okay.
I hear a lot of realtors talking about price per square foot and comparable price per square foot, and an appraiser doesn't look at it that way, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and include these two. I'm going to include the one. All right, and then right down here, you see the update valuation and close. I'm going to click on that. So you see here that it gave me an evaluation based on my comp results. It automatically figured that in there. Do you see that?
Yep.
Now, I can edit that. Let's say I don't want my buyers or I don't want my sellers to see those numbers. First of all, I don't like this much of a spread, 315 to 376. That's a $60,000 spread. I try to keep it to a $25,000 to $30,000 spread. It may be that, yeah, that's what it tells me, but I know for a fact there's no way on God's green earth that home is going to even come close to $376,000. So why tempt my seller with thinking that they can even, in their wildest dreams, get $376,000 for the home? So I will go in here and I will edit those numbers, and you can see, you can put in your here. So let's say I think, you know what, this market it says 342. I could probably get maybe 350, 355. Now, would it appraise for that? Maybe, maybe not. But that probably the top I would go. And then I definitely wouldn't want to go less than 330. And so that would be my range. And then in the middle of that, I would put, 340 or 345. You see what I'm saying there?
Yep.
And so you can manipulate those numbers, and that's what's going to show up on your report. What you edited, and they won't see the comps. So you right down to the final comps, you are adjusting. So let's go back up to this adjust comps here. All right. Now this is where I don't necessarily care for or like RPR, in that the only adjustment is the slider. So I can't figure, like, per year um, to make an adjustment, right? It does it for me. So again, I go down to the home uh, description here. It's one less bedroom, smaller in square footage, same garage square footage, but older home. So because it's smaller, one less bedroom, older home, I'm going to adjust this down. Now notice what it does here. It's adding value to my subject property. Do you see that? Can you see that, Daryl? It just added $3,939 to my value of my subject property.
I see it now.
So I'm going to take it down one more. Now it added $78.79 to my subject property. Now my subject property is worth $350,000.
Huh.
Based in comparison to that property, right? Because I think that property is a little bit worse than my subject property. Let's go to the next one here, right? It's 4 bedrooms. It's got one more bath than the subject property has. It's a little tiny bigger, same acreage, right? But it's also 6 years newer. Do you see that? It's a 2020. So I'm gonna rate that one a little bit nicer than my subject property. And notice now it reduced the price of my subject property by $39.89. See that?
Yep.
Okay, and then we'll go to the next property here, right? 1543, so it's about 500 square feet smaller than the subject property. It's a little bit larger lot, but it's an older home, right? And it's only got one garage space. Older home, smaller home. I'm going to say that property is not quite as nice as my subject property, and I'm going to reduce it one notch. Notice how highly subjective this is.
Yeah.
Totally subjective, right? And if you want to, you can look at the pictures here. Let's say I'm really torn, and so I want to look at the pictures, and so I can go in here and I can snap through the pictures, and I can look at the inside of the house, the outside of the house, and see, yeah, you know, it needs to be updated. So I feel pretty good about that, right? And then I can go up here and hit next, and it'll take me to my next properties, right? Actually, we only have one more, the one on Botaka Loop. The one on Botaka Loop is one less bedroom, same number of baths. It's 500 square feet smaller, about the same lot, and almost the same year. I'm not going to make an adjustment for being 1 year off, but it is 500 square feet smaller. So I'm going to take it down one notch. It's a smaller home, and notice it adjusted by $4,700. Now you'll notice my subject property is $355,772. Do you see that?
Yep.
Okay. So then I can go down here to the bottom, and you'll notice the overall adjustments that have been made from the subject property to the comparable properties is $13,000. So now I'm going to update the valuation and close this sheet. Now you notice we come back to our comparable analysis. Now I've got a new price, $355. And I said, yeah, probably top price $355. So I wasn't too far off, was I? Yeah, $355. And so, and again, I would probably adjust those numbers. And I like to use round numbers. I don't like to use 355,772. So here's the thing with it kind of drives me nuts. So when you're searching for properties, or you're searching for anything, let's say you're going to buy, I need to buy a new motorcycle. And you're looking at a price range. How do you search things by price? What kind of numbers do you use? When you're searching something by price, what kind of numbers do you use? Would you use a $5,772 price?
I use whole numbers.
Use whole numbers, right? You do 355,000, or if I'm looking for a motorcycle, I'd say 5,000 to 10,000, right? I wouldn't say 4,900 to 9,900, would I? That's not how I search for things. To me, that's a waste of time, right? Well, people are doing the same thing on the internet. They're not searching for, 354,900. They're searching 355,000. They're using whole numbers. So but I still see agents out there. They're using, $354,999. I'm thinking, by $1, you miss the people out there that started their search at $355,000. You just missed everybody, right? Or let's say it's 354,900, and you missed everybody by $100, right? So the internet has really changed how people search for homes, and we need to think that way when we're putting stuff on the MLS and pricing things. All right, that's kind of one of my soapbox. I'll get off that now. We'll move on. All right. So now that you've worked all this out, then you just go down here and you create your report. You click on create report, and it's going to run a report. And you'll notice there's a ton of different reports that you can run out here, right? Typically, you're running a seller's report. It could be just a property report. Property report is typically what you would use for a buyer. But all of these are customizable, right? And once you get your marketing stuff in here, you'll notice that the front page that comes with the report is going to have your picture, all your contact information, and that's going to be all throughout the report. So it's CMA, Cloud CMA does the same thing. So does the Paragon one. But there's a number of different reports in here, and when you go into more details, you can select what you want showed in here. And I'll tell you right now, we don't have time to go through all of this, but there probably about half of these I don't include in my reports. It's too busy. It's just too much information. Unless you've got a high engineer type who loves reading these kind of reports, most people just want to know what the bottom line is, right?
Yep.
Half of these I don't include. I uncheck the boxes. I don't use most of them. I want to give them the nuts and bolts. I want them to see the subject properties I've got. I want them to be able to ask me, well, why did you use that house? Well, that house is, a different house than our house. Why, and so that's going to generate that conversation. And then once you decide what you want in your report, then you can go ahead and go down here and you can put their name in it. You can type a message in here. It's not a very long one, but you can type a message in here that'll be right on the front of that report. And then you can choose how you want to deliver it. I typically run it and have a PDF, and then I email the PDF, but you can also have it emailed directly to them. You just click email to and type their email address in there, and it's good to go. Right? And when you go down here and you run report, click on run report, and it takes a little bit. You'll get this message here. Your seller's report is currently generating. We're finalizing a report, and it's a little doorbell sound that'll come up that lets you know that the report's done and ready for you to open. And once you do a couple of these, you can do one of these in probably 10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
Doesn't take long at all. Any questions about any of that?
So I've been logging on to Pack MLS and searching there, but this is Pack MLS also.
Yes, because this is part of you. Like I said earlier, this is part of the dues that you paid. You belong to this. So You know, when you ask, what do my dues go for? This is one of the services that are provided for you. And it pulls the information from our PAC MLS. That's what makes the realtor's valuation model much more accurate. It's not based upon nationwide numbers or statewide numbers. It's based upon our local MLS numbers.
Okay.
So when you notice when I was making the adjustments for the properties, did you know? And you notice the numbers that kept coming up?
Yep.
I was pulling those numbers from the data across our MLS. There's the doorbell that says my report is ready to download. And you hit your download report, and it's gonna, for me, I asked to be pulled up in a PDF. So that's one of the weaknesses about using the RPR is if you need to do a finer adjustments for the value of your home, that's the only thing that I would say that is a negative to this, is it doesn't allow you to do those finer adjustments.
Okay.
But that should be pretty rare that you need to do that, in my opinion. It should be
Okay.
very, very rare that you come across a property that just, you can't find anything like it, and you've got to make these crazy adjustments for, you know, an outbuilding or a swimming pool or whatever. So, okay.
Okay.
Well, I hope you found this helpful.
Yes.
I would encourage you, Daryl, to, you know, pick a couple addresses. Like I said, could be friends, could be coworkers, relatives, and neighbors, even your next door neighbor, your own house, and just run a couple of these reports and just
Oh, I will.
Yeah, just play with it. You can't screw it up. I mean, you know, it's but get comfortable with it, and then if you get an opportunity, you know, see if you can get somebody and run a report for them and sit down with them and show it to them and explain it to them and what they've got. So, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely will.
Yeah. Well, I've already kept you guys longer than I should have. Do you got any questions for me before we go?
Nope.
Okay.
That's good.
Well, you guys have a great rest of your week. Erica will be back next week, so I'm looking forward to having her back, and we'll just take it from here.
All right. See you next week. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Ron.
Yeah, you're welcome, Daryl. Yeah, we'll see you, Jeremy.
Thanks, Daryl. Hey, go get that house, dude. You got it.
Yes, sir. I'll try. Thanks.
Yeah, go get it, Daryl. Good for
Yes,
you.
sir.